Hello, everyone. This module in our policy research agenda and advocacy strategy is really well timed. Every day, I am receiving notices about public health policy advocacy campaigns starting now. Being mindful of our overarching semester-long charge and the accreditation process, we build onto our toolkit, a policy piece, with a policy analysis strategy and then an accompanying advocacy campaign. The framework you should consider is as such. Evidence-informed policy prioritization logically supports identifying a measure to improve public health. Also consider that legislation falls at the policy level of the ecological model, and implementation can be equated with increased access, at least ideally. Your policy analysis can be organized into 5 steps. We begin with a problem statement, then expand on the background, as well as the landscape of the issue. You can then explore your legislatable options to address and finally conclude with your recommendations. Review these questions to guide your analysis. To start the process, here are some issues that have crossed my desk. Feel free to explore these issues or other ones that you feel are more pressing. You are welcome to continue the story of Module 3. Plan a policy campaign to uphold or improve specific APA provisions. Here are your collective criteria from the Module 3 Health Reform Report Card tool. This may be a useful jumping-off point if you decide to pursue this. Some other examples that you may be interested in. Many of you, almost all of you, were interested in the obesity epidemic. There are many avenues you can pursue here. A soda tax, government policies designed to reduce how much salt people eat, may be cost-effective even without considering the potential healthcare savings. And that's from a recent study that you can access right here on this slide. Maybe you're interested in gun safety. I say gun safety because gun control is a controversial way of framing the issue. Gun safety is a little bit more universal. And so I just saw come through my listserv, a listserv that I receive, that Illinois lawmakers are debating a proposal to charge a 5% tax on memberships to gun clubs, shooting ranges, hunt clubs, etc., as well as competition fees. So you might be interested in that. And actually, federally, there's a concealed carry reciprocity law where, for example, in states like Massachusetts, where we have a very specific concealed carry law where you can't really carry guns into places, this federal law will allow you to carry guns in Massachusetts, so that you may be interested in pursuing that one. The fair share tax that we're doing here in Massachusetts is a step towards economic equality and really focuses on a social determinant of health, and you can look up more about that at the website that's listed here. Funding for Planned Parenthood, as I'm sure you know, is pivotal at this moment. Funding for federally qualified health centers is something that your classmate brought up in our live session. Clean air, there's so many provisions that go along with this, and this is just the overarching issue. And so your 3 issues may just all be related to clean air. And that was another one that one of your classmates brought up in our live session. And then another one that came through on one of my listservs very recently were breastfeeding bills for female inmates in New Mexico. So that the policy is so extensive that we can pursue in public health. So here are some of the characteristics that you'll want to consider while you are developing your policy strategy. Once you have an idea of your policy topics, we will move into our first tool, a policy analysis agenda. We'll start with the pre-solve method to guide your group through developing your policy analysis research agenda. Another example of a public health issue to guide us through the pre-solve method that you should follow together as a group is, for example, the decline of measles vaccination in Illinois. Consider the problem of the increasing incidence of measles and the failure of increasing numbers of children to be vaccinated. You may remember the measles outbreak at Disneyland a couple of years ago. Frame the central policy issue to be resolved. Take into account your general as well as your specific professional knowledge and anything else you know from just your experience. Then use the team's available knowledge, including whatever may be addressed by other factors, like the accessibility of vaccines provided by the ACA. Then develop your central policy issue. Next, identify underlying or related issues. As we have done this semester for other public health activities, develop criteria. Typically, we would think of cost, effectiveness, time, feasibility. You may define other important criteria as well. Evaluate the alternatives by these criteria. To organize your group discussion, you may use this table or any other resource that you know of or that you've read about. Finally, develop your recommendations and populate the research design. As your tool, this is one of the formats that I'm proposing. Or you may also select a format that's listed in one of the examples I gave you that you can access in the guidelines for this assignment on Blackboard. What I'm specifying is that you include at least 3 issue options and that you also describe the tool that you selected and why. So now, for our second tool, and of course you can, I know I fly through these slides when we do the voiceover, and that's so you don't have to listen to the voiceover for so long. As you know, the PowerPoint is also attached in the item with this voiceover, so you can more slowly look through these slides. But this also brings us into our second tool, and the tool that you'll submit individually. It'll be important to prioritize one central policy issue that your group can develop into a policy advocacy strategy. A comprehensive advocacy plan includes your goals and SMART objectives. Those of you in the 433 course are very familiar with SMART objectives. Your strategy, including identifying your resources and assets, which includes community support. And at the same time, it's important to identify your opposition. As an example, when working on gun control, back to the gun control example, gun safety example, the NRA would be viewed as gun control policy opposition. A comprehensive plan also includes targets and agents of change. We should ask, who are the main targets of change, and which agents might bring pressure to bear on the targets? Finally, tactics are the action steps. So again, your second tool is to plan the advocacy campaign to promote the policy that you focused on in your first tool, to narrow it down to one of the options. We can break down the process that you will develop as a group by starting with identifying goals and objectives. Here are some initial policy campaign development steps targeting one of the examples from above. Back to the gun safety issue, and that's the 5% tax on memberships to gun clubs, shooting ranges, the one that I showed you before. And this is very recent if you're interested in it, so there'll be a lot of information available. Goals and objectives are then turned into action steps. And then ultimately, you will be able to fill in your full advocacy campaign planning chart and your second tool, as well as a tool that will be submitted individually. Just as an example. Please continue to let me know if you have any questions regarding any piece of these tools. So to clarify, the first tool that you'll be submitting is a method like this one that I've posted in the guidelines as well as in these slides. That's one option. And then these links that you can probably access better on the website than from this PowerPoint also give you, and from the book chapter as well, and the book chapter slides, also give you similar tables, but a few different pieces that go into it. And you're welcome to select either. If you find one or know one of your own, you're welcome to use that as well. And then the key piece is that propose at least 3 options in the table, in whatever table you use. And then also, please describe why you selected the method you described. And then for the second tool, the requirement is to fill out this specific table. So, if there aren't any questions, I look forward to learning of what a collective IPHS 403 policy agenda and campaign strategy would look like. Thank you very much.